Hello, my name's Vanessa Vallely and welcome to One Tech World. In my lounge today is the incredible Pallavi Malhotra, Director at Huawei ICT Academy Program for Western Europe. Hi Pallavi, how are you?
Hi, Vanessa. Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grateful to have you with us. We've got a great story in store for everyone who's watching today. So first of all, obviously Pallavi, I know you, but tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Oh, well, okay. Where should I start? So I was born in India. I came to UK when I was about 7. So most of my studies were all done here. I missed school for a whole year when I was before I went into so I couldn't go to grammar school. I ended up going to secondary school, while I was in that school, I remember we mixed with the boys at the time, and so there were technical subjects that were introduced. um, and at the time I really wanted to do some of the more technical courses and the STEM courses, and I wasn't allowed to. So both my parents were teachers and they understood the value of education. And because they knew I wanted to go into a more technical field in the future. So I remember my father came over and he had to fight for me to be able to do chemistry and physics and maths and biology. So I actually then did manage to do that, and really pleased that my dad did supported me and he came there. So from there, I was doing A levels at the time when an opportunity came along. So I was going to take the traditional route to go through university and then decide what to do. At the time, my idea was around medicine. But then the opportunity came along in 1976. After the Sex Discrimination Act of 75, there were companies in the UK that started taking on women into male dominated fields. So the local careers office had mentioned, that there was this opportunity. Would you like to have a go and try, because you've got the STEM subjects already? So it could be something that could be would help your career. So I wasn't sure what the job was about at the time. So I went along, and I remember that year in 1976, there were about 45,000 applications from what I was told for the international division. And BT was a very forward-thinking employer, probably one of the first in the country that took on women. And they selected out of the 45,000, 45 apprentices in the international division. There were 40 boys and 5 girls, and I was really very fortunate and lucky to be one of those. It was a 3-day interview session, I remember, where we had to do all sorts of tasks. We had to we were asked questions by a panel. They put faults on a physical phone, the old types of phones, and we had to fix that. We had to explain what we knew about Ohm's law, just the understanding of physics, really, just to make sure that we wouldn't have any issues if we did go forward. So I'm really, really pleased. It was a fantastic 18-year career with BT. I started as an apprentice 3 years, and then went on through the grades to technician 2A, 2B, and then technical officer. But BT paid for my complete training. So I didn't stop at the 3 years. I continued for the final 2 years to complete a 5-year program. And in those days used to be a job for life. Most people started from school and they retired from BT, and it was called the post office then as well. So that's how I got there. And I they also paid for my degree as well, because when the exchanges changed from electromechanical exchanges like the Strauger ones to computerized exchanges like the Ericsson ones, and I started working on the Ericsson equipment, wanted to understand more about computer languages. I couldn't get my head around the concept of what does a computer have a language. So I decided to do the computing degree, and I'm one of those people who just loves learning all the time. So I did all this part-time. BT paid for it, and I went into management. So I think when I left BT, and the only reason I left was when I had a child. I wanted to take some time off to be with my son. Um, and that's the only reason. Otherwise, I just absolutely loved my job. It was great.
So you was actually a field engineer, weren't you? But a field engineer that went by another name. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh God, yes. So my nickname at home was Raj. My I was the first child. My parents always wanted a boy, so they kept calling me Raju. And then, so when I went to work, my name it wasn't always pronounced properly by colleagues at work. So it'd be all sorts of versions. So I thought, okay, well, this would be easier. Just call me Raj. And then Raj turned to Raj, and then Roger. So I used to be called Roger,
And
but I didn't mind.
you actually used to be like very technical, like go out to the
Oh yeah.
exchanges and stuff like that in your role, wasn't you?
Yes, I was hands-on an engineer. So as part of the whole training, the apprenticeship, we did everything. We went to customers' premises, so we had to learn the job completely. But in the international division, we didn't have any subscribers, so it was all transit traffic. So I worked in an international exchange. So I looked after switch rooms. These were the new Ericsson switch rooms, but also the Strowger ones I've worked on as well. And then basically maintaining the equipment and making sure it was running for the Ericsson versions of exchanges as well.
And
So
I mean,
clerk of work.
conversations we've had before, you said that people used to be really shocked when you turn up and you was a woman.
Yes, I remember I when I was training and I'd gone with one of the engineers. We're learning on the job at the time, and I went to this jewelry shop. So I said, "I'm here to fix your phone." And they wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't let me in. And I showed my pass card, everything. And they said no. And then I had to bring the engineer from the van. I said, look, can you please tell them? Because they used to think, oh, why have you? Or some places I went to, oh, why have you brought your girlfriend along? Or why have you brought your daughter along? It was it was like that. So it was I think hard for customers to understand that there were females doing this type of work as
Absolutely.
well.
No, hopefully not anymore. So, I mean, obviously a very male dominated environment, how did you deal with that? Did you ever see your gender as a barrier? Could you always do the same stuff as the boys? Which I think we can.
Yes, I think we could do better than the boys actually. So I really enjoyed it. It was always challenging. I was always being challenged, and I would be given projects that were really difficult to do, just
Yeah.
to see how I would cope with those. But I didn't let that put me off. I just got on with it, and and I did the job. I did the work, and I remember when I was in one of the exchanges, one of the male engineers said to me, "Do you know you're taking a man's salary, a man's job away, where he could be supporting a family on your salary?" So I said, "Well, I'm happy to stay at home if you if you're willing to pay my bills." But at the end of it, and he said, You're not going to be any use unless you can do what we can do." At the end of it, I specialized in the signals, C6, C7 signaling systems, where I was installing digital systems from UK to other countries. And I ended up teaching him. And majority of the engineers, they did their apprenticeships, but they didn't go further to do any other, further education, going to doing a degree. But I did do that. So I was probably one of very few engineers who actually did continue studies as well. So I
Amazing.
did prove myself, yeah.
So you left BT, you took a few years out to raise your son, and then how have you ended up at Huawei and what do you do there?
After when I took a few years off. Unfortunately, my marriage broke off at the time, so I was a single parent bringing up my son. So I needed to have a job that gave me the same sort of holiday times as my son once he started school. So I went into education. I applied for a teaching role. I'd been teaching engineers in small groups and one-to-one at work with BT, but never in a large classroom environment. So I applied for the job and I got it. So I was teaching networking and computing subjects. So I remember at the time there were more and more girls joined when I was teaching those subjects, because I think they felt more
Yeah.
comfortable as well. But after 18 years of teaching, then I thought I'd slow down a little bit and maybe do some consultancy work. And then this fantastic opportunity came along, and somebody called me from one of the agencies, and there's a job at Huawei for ICT Academy manager at the time. So I said, wow, this is what I've been doing. I set up the first NEEP Academy in 1997. I was running that at the college that I was working at, and then all the other vendor programs that came along afterwards. So this was exactly what I was used to doing. So I went for the interview, and Huawei were fantastic because I asked, is there, am I able to feed into this program and change it to make it sort of customizable for education in UK? Because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the private sector, I've been in education. So we want to have something that's special and different. And they said, yes, you can. And this is what I've been doing. So I've been with Huawei now for just over 5 years. I was 5 years in December, so for nearly 5.5 years, and I thoroughly enjoy my job, and it's really satisfying job
Yeah.
because it's giving back and trying to get new talent, male and female talent, into the digital sector.
So
So
explain to me what the academy actually does. And, is it just something where you take individuals from schools? Can anyone get on that academy? I know we've probably got people watching going, oh, what's this about? So tell us a little
yes.
bit more about the academy itself.
Oh gosh, I'm so passionate, Vanessa, about the academy. It's a fantastic program, really fantastic offer. It's one of the best offers there is out there. And I would encourage everybody to take advantage of it. So I work with universities and colleges directly. I don't work directly with students because students belong to the university or college. So I enable them, the instructors, to be able to deliver Huawei certification courses to their student group. So the teachers go through our training program. They actually take the certification exam, which is a globally recognized certification.
What are they
Um,
learning?
so there's a whole range of subjects. Well, I put them into three different categories. You've got the foundation programs in networking that have been going on for a number of years in routing and switching, datacom, security,
Infrastructure.
wireless LAN, and then you've got all the more growth areas within the digital sector, such as cloud technologies, cloud computing, cloud service, intelligent computing, big data. These are all growth areas. And then we also got some cutting edge courses because while we invest huge amounts of money in research and development, and we have around 94,000 employees working directly in research and development.
Wow.
So there's fantastic technologies that are coming out of Huawei, and I believe we have the most patents in the world as well. So what we do is that particular technology area matures and develops, and there are jobs available within that area, then we bring those courses into the academy. So the academy students and universities, colleges, and teachers always have the latest information. And the other advantage is that for teachers, they don't have to do their own research because we will update the materials. We'll always have the latest content there and lots of resources, so they can just go directly there and get the information instead of spending time, doing their own research and creating handouts. And I remember when I was at college, teachers had to do that, and it was time consuming, stressful, and then you don't have the consistency either. And it all depends on the individual person and in the quality of the materials that are produced and handed out. So
Do you have to be a student at a university to go to the academy? So
um
individuals
yes,
can
because sorry. So yes, so we work directly with the institution. They
yeah.
become an academy, and then they open up the courses to their student group. So anybody can join. It'd be students who are full-time, part-time, mature students, young students, working, unemployed, you know, it doesn't really matter.
And that's
And also
global,
they can
isn't it?
open it up to the wider community. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got
Wonderful.
introductory courses as well, which are great. If you just want a taster of, do I want to go into this sector? Let me try this introduction program. It's about a day long. That would give the students a great idea. Oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And they can go forward and do the certificated courses.
Fabulous. So, so obviously, we can take our careers into our own hands and we can go to university and perhaps we can get on this academy. And there's lots of different things that we can do. I think continuous learning is really important. And that's something you've done throughout your career, isn't it? You're continuously learning. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yes, sorry. I absolutely agree with you, Vanessa. I think we have to be all continuously learning because technology is changing at such a rapid rate. And we need to be informed and know how to do certain tasks. So, when I was at school, we didn't have computers. I've been in tech now for 45 years. So I'm in my 60s, and we we didn't have computers. I remember the first PC I bought was an Amstrad, and it had a floppy disk to load the operating system and then take it out and do whatever, put another disk in and do whatever you needed to. So things have moved on, and technology is moving at a much faster pace now as well. So even paying your bills, or your council tax or whatever it may be, people need to know how to do that online.
Yeah,
And even basic skills are required. So I think, yes, lifelong learning, but Huawei also encourages their employees to continue learning as well. And all courses are open to us, a whole range of courses, and there's no one to say no, you can't do that. You can do all the learning, get as many certifications as you like,
that's
and
amazing.
progress your career. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
fabulous. So let's talk about role models. I believe everyone is a role model for somebody. So any role models in your life, or how do you, because you are a role model, right? I mean, even when you say I'm 60, I'm like, when did you start? You must have started in tech like when you was 5. Are role models important, do you think?
Yes, it's role models are really important. I feel, Vanessa, because when I was younger and I started in tech, we didn't have any role models because we were the first. Well, we were definitely in telecoms anyway, in UK. So there was nobody really to ask advice from, or to see how their career progressed and what sort of subjects we should be concentrating on, what areas, or how to progress our own career path. So no, we had to find our own way. So having role models is really important, because and I think all women in the digital sector now should become role models for younger girls,
Yeah.
and to help them and drive their career forward and help them to achieve and pave the path, help them to achieve what was difficult for us. Why still leave it as a difficult area for them? Let's help
Yep.
younger talent
No,
and support
I
them.
couldn't agree more. And so, for example, how have you done some of that? How are you? I mean, obviously, in the role that you're in, you're constantly nurturing talent, I expect. So, how have you kind of paid that forward?
Well, I started giving back after when I joined education, really. So I tried to encourage more girls to join my classes, and they did, and they felt comfortable with a female teacher teaching as well. So they weren't afraid to ask questions, and it was really nice and friendly afterwards as well, because they could contact me anytime for any advice that they needed. And I tried to encourage them, if there are events happening, to push them forward to, you know, do something, take part in events that were going on wherever they would have been. And now in my role within Huawei, I hope that I do the same to encourage young girls when I go to speak to students and visit academies, and actually have presentations to students as well. So I hope I'm doing that. And we will have a competition, so for the competitions I definitely try to encourage more girls to join. And last competition we did have quite a few more girls joining, and there are more and more girls joining the program every year anyway. But one young lady from the university, I actually encouraged her to join a panel discussion with female entrepreneurs. I was also on the panel, and she was a PhD student, and she really was nervous. I remember at the time, but I was probably more nervous than but she was fantastic, and later on she told me that it really built up her confidence.
Yeah.
And since then she's actually kept in touch with the other women that were on the panel, and she's joined a number of women's groups, where she can
Oh,
get more support as well.
see, that's the thing. We can all open up doors of opportunity for each other. So, for example, with you giving her the opportunity to be on the panel, she's got more confidence. She'll probably do it again. So, just something for us all to think about. How do we pay that forward? As I said, we are all role models for someone. So finally, what's the best piece of career advice that you've ever been given? And what would you say to the ladies that are watching this thinking, wow, 45 years in tech, from you've gone from technical to academia to management, back to the kind of education side. What would that advice be?
Um, so I guess in a way, my mum was my role model, and she was also a teacher as well, and she always encouraged me. So she said, "You can do anything you want to do. Don't let anything stop you from, you know, achieving your goals." So the advice that I would give to young women is that as a female in the digital sector, you will be challenged by your male colleagues, but don't be intimidated by them. Do what you need to do, prove your worth, and slowly there will be a level of acceptance, but don't ever give up and don't be intimidated. Carry on. It's your career, it's your life, and you need to take control of it. Don't let other people intimidate you in any way whatsoever.
Absolutely sound advice. Well, Pallavi, it's been a joy to talk with you. You're so passionate about what you do. And I'm sure, in the Q&A, if anyone wants to find out a little bit more about the Academy or the competition that Pallavi mentioned, or opportunities at Huawei, then by all means, you can pop them into the Q&A box. But Pallavi, great to have you at One Tech World. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Oh, thank you, Vanessa. It's been a pleasure. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having me.